Hello there everybody, this is Speckblocklime here with another video reaction for all of you today. And today the channel we're going to react to is from the channel Mr. Ballin, where they always release all these interesting mystery slash crime videos. Mostly, it's more mystery crime videos. Like, they don't talk about crimes too much, but they do talk about certain crimes that maybe got solved or great things. You know what? Maybe they do. It's confusing. It's a mix. But they also talk about incredible supernatural and other creative mysteries. But in a detailed way where they're talking to you more about the logic of something than just the actual like mysteriousness too hard. They try to explain it to you in a sense to understand. But anyways, the video we're gonna do is the most shocking real life plot twist of the strange case. Hold on. Sorry, I think something's glitching right now. Give me a second. Sorry about that. It rarely happens, but I think something is a little off right now. But while I'm trying to fix it for a sec, this looks like an interesting video. Hold on. I'm trying to make sure it doesn't freeze or something. What's happening? Okay, I think I fixed it. The strange. Oh, the video play. The most shocking real life plot twist. The strange case of the missing. I don't know. I'm gonna say this right. Eilean Mor lighthouse keepers. I think I might have seen something or read or heard a video of this. So a while back on another channel or somewhere else. I think it's somewhere in Europe. I think it might be somewhere in the UK, but I don't remember exactly where. I think it's something about an island where something weird happened. I don't want to say more details because I might be wrong and I don't want to say weird things. So let's get on to the video and see what maybe Mr. Ballin says about the case. So here we go. Come on.
There is nothing
There we go.
quite as
See,
satisfying
you're having issues right
as
now.
a true story that's mysterious and interesting, it sucked you in, that has a killer plot twist,
Okay.
a killer reveal. That, to me, is just the most satisfying thing you can find. I am a complete story addict, and so I go looking for these stories. I go literally searching for real life stories with real life plot twists.
All right.
And in my opinion, the very
Even though some of the things he says are mysterious, they're based on people's accounts in real life.
So the two long
So it's not like something magically invented or something that can't even have a little bit of proof. Even if it's something like a mystery of ghosts or mysterious creatures, it's mostly based on things that have at least somewhat realism in them. Even if it's not all of it seems real. Because there's other people that talk about fantastical things or weird like events, but this one a little more grounded. Okay.
It has some entries in it that don't really add up. And then when you combine those entries with what people had to say on the mainland that were watching the island, it really doesn't add up. So it creates this really epic plot twist. It's absolutely worth watching to the end, I promise.
Okay.
So let's get there. Off the coast of northwestern Scotland lies a stretch of 7 small islands.
All right.
Flannan Isles. One of those isles is called Eilean Mor. And on Eilean Mor is a lighthouse, and that's where our story is going to be centered. But before we get into the story, Eilean Mor has some odd history to it. It's long been regarded as a place that's paranormal. In fact, on the island, basically the only people that inhabit it are the lighthouse keepers. Usually there's 3 or 4 of them, and sheep. And so sheep herders often go out to that island, and they're the ones that report hearing strange sounds and just feeling like they're being watched. It's a creepy place. And in fact, anybody that visits the island that isn't a sheep herder or a lighthouse keeper, even if they've never heard of the history of Eilean Mor, oftentimes report a very odd sense of being watched, of just not feeling right on that island. And so Eilean Mor really had developed a reputation.
It's kind of weird, right? Because the island is so tiny, though.
So in addition to just the strange,
like, I mean, I get what they're talking about. You could be weirded out anywhere, but just it's so tiny, though. Where would something hide on that island? Sorry.
They reported feeling like they were being drawn to pray. That there was this overwhelming sense that you should be praying as soon as you walk into the church. And in fact, the draw was so strong, like getting on your knees and praying, that they developed this strange ritual that when you got to the island, it was customary that before you went in, you immediately dropped to your knees and crawled around the church on your knees before making your way inside and continuing to pray. So just a strange place with strange rituals. That's the scene that is set for this true life, very strange mystery. In December of 1900, a steamboat was passing by the Flannan Isles, and as they rounded their way past Eilean Mor, they noticed that the light was out. The lighthouse was not operational.
All right.
So when that steamboat,
which is important because for boats,
3 days later,
they need it so they don't crash onto, you know, the rocks.
You should go check on them. And so as it happened, it was actually time to replace the lighthouse keepers that were
especially farther back then. I mean, now I think I don't know if any place even uses them, but back then, before certain technologies, yeah, you needed those.
Eilean Mor to check on the lighthouse keepers, but also replace them. So it was a changing of the guard and making sure that everything was okay. As you approach Eilean Mor, you would see a massive staircase coming up from the dock all the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like a really big barren thing, and I get what they mean, that there's probably something creepy about it, but it still looks so tiny. I'm not saying I don't believe there is not something creepy. It just looks so tiny. Where would something hide? You know, I get if it was foggy, but just saying. Sorry, but I'm not going to criticize those people.
Harvey and his crew, as they're making their approach to Eilean Mor, they're watching those steps to see if the lighthouse keepers are going to notice them and come down and greet them on the dock, because that was customary. You always are at the dock ready to assist the crew as they come into Eilean Mor. That was just the way it was done. And so as they're making their approach, they're watching these steps, looking for signs that the keepers are coming down, because on some level, the crew that's going out to replace them, on the back of their head, you know, they're a little bit nervous that something's wrong. I mean, they know that the lighthouse was not operational, and that's part of the reason they're going out. So they're kind of like actively watching those steps. They're looking for signs that they're coming down to the dock. And as they get closer and closer, they don't see anybody come down the steps. They don't see anyone on the dock. And even worse, no preparations were made for the next crew to come into the dock. That was something that all lighthouse keepers did. They kept that dock, you know, up to codes that if any time someone came in, they could properly dock and make their way up. So no preparations are made. No one is coming down to greet them. So the omen is pretty bad. And so Captain Harvey
that's worrying.
On the dock, and the captain and his crew say, hey, to Joseph Mor, you go up and just do a cursory examination of the island. Make sure these guys are okay. We'll stay down here for a minute. You go check. So Joseph Mor gets out, and he starts walking up this massive set of stairs where he can't see the lighthouse. He can only see the steps. It's pretty steep.
Yeah, climbing
and
up.
Later, he would say that he had this deep sense of just foreboding. Like something bad is about to happen. He felt very stressed out as he's walking up these stairs. And as he makes his way up,
everybody can get that feeling at some point, sometimes.
To where he can actually start to break out the top of the island where you can see the lighthouse and you can see, you know, where they were staying. And the first thing he notices is the steel railings that line this massive staircase up to the island near the lighthouse itself. The steel railings had been bent over. Like imagine if it was made out of tinfoil. They had been folded onto themselves. Like pretty significant damage to, you know, steel.
And there's steel railings.
And so he makes note of that. And he also
so unless somebody used a machine or something.
I don't think it was decorative. It just was.
How would that have bent?
There's this huge boulder that just was right in front of the lighthouse, and it had been that way for, you know, years and years. It had moved significantly, and you could actually see a trail underneath the boulder where it had rolled across the grass. So Joseph Mor, the replacement lighthouse keeper, is thinking to himself, my God, this is straight out of the storm of the century. Clearly the worst storm ever has hit this island. No wonder their lighthouse was non-operational, because they were hit with like the worst storm ever. And so that's his initial assessment. He goes up to the door. The door is unlocked but shut, and he opens it up. first thing he does is he yells for the lighthouse keepers that are supposed to be there.
Yeah, they're
They don't
supposed
call
to check.
back. There's apparently no one in the lighthouse. Before he even starts moving through the lighthouse, he looks on his right and he sees all the hooks where they would have kept their clothes. And one hook still is holding an oilskin jacket. And anytime you would leave the lighthouse,
Is that what those are called?
especially if you were leaving the island for some
That was just a regular
there's
little
no reason
coat
in the
or something
world
that's
you would not be
rain.
wearing that jacket.
Oilskin.
So, it's another kind of bad
I
sign.
guess it's for the rain to
that
not
if they're
stick and
not
slide
here,
off.
If the 3 lighthouse keepers are not inside of this lighthouse, why aren't all 3 oilskins gone with them? It's another sign that something terrible has happened.
I
Goes
guess.
into the kitchen, and on the kitchen table is plates of meat. There is pickles that have just been pulled out of a jar, and a couple of the chairs have been upturned. And he also noticed that the mechanical clocks had stopped. And so he's thinking to himself, okay, something happened where they left in a hurry because they
because only why are 2 gone and then 1 isn't.
He continues moving through the lighthouse and he gets to their bedrooms, and all of their beds are unmade. Again, it was kind of customary that you would never leave the lighthouse unmade. You would make your bed because someone else could be coming in to relieve you. And so it was yet another sign to Joseph Mor that something had happened suddenly that caused the lighthouse keepers to abandon the lighthouse. Combining that with the massive damage from the storm, he's starting to think, something happened. This horrible storm is coming through. Like, maybe it got really bad really quickly and they didn't have time to make proper preparations. They didn't have time to do the things that were customary. They just had to kind of boogie out of there. So Joseph Mor returns to Captain Harvey and says, this is what I saw. And so Captain Harvey and the crew go back up and they kind of see it for themselves. And Captain Harvey ends up sending a telegram back to the mainland explaining that there has been a horrible tragedy here.
Yeah.
A dreadful accident has happened at the Flannans. The 3 keepers, Ducat, Marshall, and the Occasional, have disappeared from the island. The clocks were stopped and other signs indicated that the accident must have happened about a week ago. Poor fellows. They must have been blown over the cliffs or drowned trying to secure a crane or something like that. After Captain Harvey sends this telegram, he and Joseph Mor and the rest of the crew continue to kind of search the island and do some investigating.
Yeah, they're like, what happened? What's up?
The 3 lighthouse keepers had been keeping. And so all of the entries are pretty standard. It was, common
Sorry, I just want to check
practice
how
that
much.
mark down what happened that day, what
So I don't
ships
lose
you
track.
saw, just kind of basic log keeping.
Yeah, just making sure everything's at least somewhat
they
set.
start getting really interesting on December 12th. On December 12th, the leader of the 3 lighthouse keepers noted that severe winds, the likes of which he had never seen before, he's been doing this for decades,
what, a freak storm came out of nowhere?
He's acting pretty worried about whether or not the lighthouse will be able to withstand this storm. He also noted that the other 2 lighthouse keepers were not doing well. He said one of them had been basically just praying nonstop. The other had been doing a bit of crying. Now, the man he's describing that is crying over the intensity of the storm was known on the mainland as one of the toughest, saltiest men on the planet, who had weathered dozens of hurricanes out on islands all by himself. And so for him to be crying over the severity of the storm just shows you how severe the storm really was. The entries on the 13th and 14th point to them believing that they're not going to get out of the storm alive. At this point, all 3 of them are just praying nonstop.
I mean, that seems strange because the building is still there.
At some point, they're just going to get swept off the island. Then, on December 15th, it just says, storm ended, sea is calm, God is over all. So Robert Moorhead, who is one of the leaders of the investigation, said that basically on December 15th, after that final entry was made, they must have gone down to the dock to secure some of the supplies and just
possibly
make sure that it wasn't totally damaged from all of the storm, and a rogue wave from this storm must have swept them away. When word got to the Scottish mainland about what had happened to these lighthouse keepers, the people that sat on the coast facing Eilean Mor, they were really confused.
Yeah, I was wondering because he said something about the beginning about that.
Out at Eilean Mor, they can see it because the island's not that far off the coast and they can see the storm. But
it's interesting.
Over the past few days, namely December 12th to the 15th, which was the time period those log entries were made about the storm passing through, the people on the mainland of Scotland said that not only was there no storm, But in fact, the visibility onto Eilean Mor was better than it had been in years. They saw parts of the island that were only visible in perfect circumstances.
All right.
There was never any storm. So what the heck happened to those lighthouse keepers? What were those log entries about? Why were
That's strange, because if a whole bunch of people on one part saying they saw, you know,
where did they go? In the years following
the mainland, the island, and nothing was up from what they could see.
And all of them reported hearing someone yelling the names of the 3 lighthouse keepers that went missing. So pretty creepy stuff. And unfortunately, it's still very much an unsolved mystery, despite the official statement by Robert Moorhead. And so I'd love to hear in the comments what you think might have happened to the lighthouse keepers, and what could possibly explain that there wasn't a storm, but in the journal they said it was the worst storm ever, and there's physical damage done to the island.
Yeah.
How do we reconcile that? Like, either someone's not telling the truth, or something just doesn't add up. And I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments. So if you haven't already, please like this video and hit subscribe. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can message me on Instagram. My handle is JohnBallin416. Thank you all so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, that's just strange. So when the people that disappeared said this, and then the people that looked out the island could see, like, oh, nothing's happening over there. They could clearly see. And they're like, no storm or anything. If anything, it looked more clear than anything. Wow, that's an interesting mystery, though. But who knows what happened? And it's terrible for those people that happened to them. I'm just saying the little island. I'm just saying. I'm not saying nothing cannot happen in places that are small or something. It's just saying it's still interesting, like that they say that they feel creeped out on that little island when you can see everything. I get if it was like a city, or I don't know, something like that. It's literally just one building with surrounding open area, no trees, no nothing. But I guess it's just some mysterious thing, and who knows what really happened. But anyway, I like the story. That was an interesting one too. If you want to check out this video, go to Mr. Ballin's channel. Check out this one and many more on their channel. And hey, if you want to come and give us our view on here on Speckblocklime, please, we could really use that support. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so you get notified about future videos. We'll put a link down below to everything. And all the other channels that we're working on stuff, and links to our social medias. Hopefully you'll have them down below. Hopefully you guys take care of yourselves. Have a good day, and well, hopefully you guys eat something good. See ya.